Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the new ground general, Zhang. Now, when I first started calculating the attributes for this guy, I noticed that they were a little bit lower than what I expected them to be. So I took a look a little bit deeper, and it turns out that this spreadsheet, the attributes column is calculated to level 35 instead of level 30, and I ran his stats through as a level 30. So I took a look at the generals that were currently on here, and I noticed that I also had put Narcissus and Lucilla in as level 30s previously instead of 35s and didn't notice. So I've now updated them to be level 35 as well as Zhang. So in a previous video on these two, they are slightly lower damage and defense and HP wise than what they were actually compared to the rest, but it was only about 5-10% difference. Not a whole lot. It doesn't change a lot, as is evident by the fact that nobody actually noticed in the video. But their values have been updated to the correct values and will reflect as such. So, on to Zhang Fi. He does have the leading attributes that he is can be used reinforcing or on the wall, which is very good. Very solid base skill. No march size on the base. When we upgrade it to 5 stars, we get 115 attack, which is very solid, second only to Narcissus. The march size is 10%, which is pretty solid for the skill. And you unlock it at 4 stars is when you get the 10% march size. So if you don't get him to the 4 stars, he's not going to perform as well as he will in the spreadsheet. So do keep that in mind. He is going to require a good bit of investment on that half. When we look at the specialties aren't anything crazy. Pretty standard for a ground general. The attack is pretty solid. Defensively, it's pretty good. HP, he does lack on the HP, only being 35%, and no march size out of the specialty. So his specialty isn't very strong at all. His covenant is pretty solid. He gets a nice 8% march size out of that, but that is the last attribute. He also gets 10, 10, and 15, which are very good for Covenant. Not the best, but they're very solid nonetheless. But you're definitely going to want to invest in him all the way to get that Covenant fully done to unlock that 8% march size, because that's going to be essential to his performance. In terms of the attack for the attributes, he's pretty low. Defensively, it's also pretty low, and then the HP is HP on the attributes is all right. So attributes wise, he's not great, but those don't play a super huge role when we look at the totals and see how he stacks up. Second overall for damage behind Narcissus. Defensively, he's okay. He comes in ninth place overall with 293. Narcissus being the top with 328. For HP, his HP is a little bit better with 320, coming behind 35 points behind Narcissus in first. So pretty average defense and HP, nothing too crazy. His attack is pretty nice. And then the march size is 18%, which is pretty solid, but there definitely are some other generals that have him beat in that category. But one of the more important stats we're interested in is the increased attack, which right now this one is K40 2000% buff with a T15 March. And he stacks out to third overall in damage at 42 billion compared to Narcissus's 47. And he falls just short of Alexander, but he does have the HP and defensive advantage over Alexander. But the thing that's really interesting is he does have the leading clause, so he is the highest damage for the leading clause, with Lucilla in second and Militatus close behind. So those are really the ones that we're comparing him to for the role that they're going to fulfill. So Militatus falls a little bit behind in damage. Lucilla right behind him, super close. Lucilla is a little bit beefier with the defensive side of things. Militatus About the same, nothing too crazy, a little bit higher. So you're trading a little bit of survivability for damage with Zhang Fi, but nothing too crazy. They're all going to perform very similar. When we look at how he performs in the assistant role, we're not going to be looking at any of the extra red stars because those don't apply, or the attributes. Looking at his total attack as assistant, he comes in third behind Lucilla, such it the same as such it actually. So he is a viable assistant in terms of damage. He only gets 8% march size, which he gets from the specialty, so his overall damage is pretty alright. Nothing too crazy. He's behind Lucilla by a good bit, but not too terribly far. For survivability, he is more survivable than Lucilla as assistant, far more survivable than Suchet, and way more survivable than Alexander. So he is a very survivable as an assistant, and he does have good damage, so he is very usable as an assistant, one of the better ones. When we compare him to Militates in the assistant role, Zhang Fi does have a little bit more damage. Survivable and HP is essentially the same, so they are going to perform very similar on that front. So if you're planning on using Zhang Fi, you'll probably want an assistant that has the leading clause so that you can use two generals that can both be used for reinforcing or on the wall or whatnot. So the compatibility for Zhang Fi, no issues with any of the skill books. There's no data on Lucilla if she can be used as an assistant or vice versa. So if you know if that's possible, drop a comment on that. Pairs are possible is Narcissus, and he would be a good general for Narcissus. He's compatible with most of them. He's not compatible with Militates, so that is a little bit unfortunate. If he is compatible with Lucilla, that would be the ideal situation. Militates is off the board. Sweenfork Beard is also not compatible. Frigg, which does have the clause, she is compatible. So if you have Frigg and you want to use her with him, that is an option. Or as the assistant, that would be good as well. But Lucilla would be the ideal partner if she is compatible. We'll have to wait and see. But if not, then Frigg is your best option for assistance. Or if you're not interested in the leading clause, he's a good assistant for any general, as he does perform quite well as the assistant. And if you're looking for an assistant for him that doesn't have the leading clause, if you're not too worried about that, Suchet would be a good option. Narcissus would be a good option as well. Or just really whoever you have that is compatible. That's all I got for today. Hope y'all guys found this information useful, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.